everybody, and welcome to episode 16 already of the Bao Podcast. Our first guest after the summer break is Özturk Taspinar. Özturk works at KPMG as a digital innovation consultant and is very passionate about entrepreneurship, innovation, and anything that's digital, such as AI, blockchain, robotics, etc. With the ever-growing PropTech industry that's closing the gap between construction and the digital world, we thought this would be a very interesting guest for our first Bao Podcast episode after the summer. So, Özturk, thank you very much for being here, and let's dive straight into it. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing very fine.
That's good to hear. So maybe explain a little bit more, because we noticed that you're very active in a lot of different fields, including construction.
Correct.
But there's also the digital side and AI and so on. So could you maybe describe your activities a bit to the audience?
Yes. So professionally, within KPMG, as you referred, I'm heading our innovation center, which we call the Ignition Center. It's an amazing place with really cool people coming there and bringing actually creativity. The methodologies, the passion they bring is really instigating, is really impacting the people that come there. Because the clients typically are looking for what is coming on our agenda, on our road. What is it that we need to start thinking about in the coming 2 to 3 years? And this team is really amazing in that. So they can help to identify what are these signals and how to start preparing yourself, how to start experimenting today so that you are ready for the day of tomorrow. And this is my main task, I would say. This is with the KPMG, working and heading this amazing team. And next to that, I am indeed part of the WTC-WTCB, as we say it in Dutch. In English, it is the BBRE, which is the Belgian Building Research, group, in which I'm actually one of their technical committees on looking ahead to the future and how indeed also the construction firms, construction industry actually needs to prepare themselves for tomorrow. So there, I'm playing an advisory role there. Yes.
Right. So on one hand, you lead this like very interesting team. It sounds like a very interesting group of people. Like how big is this team?
It's a core team of 8 people.
Okay.
But besides there, it's like a typical matrix organization. Depending on the topic, we involve people from all around the organization. So it's that typical multidisciplinary approach is linked to that. Yes.
Okay. And KPMG in Belgium is around
2,000 people.
Okay.
1,008.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So that's quite a lot of teams you can
evolve.
Exactly. All right. So you have the entire innovation activity on the one side, and then an interest in construction.
Interest in a sense, we work multidisciplinary and so across sectors. But of course, in this ecosystem economy where we are heading to, or where we are already in, it's really key to involve multiple disciplinaries. If you look at construction today, the way that we build today, it's almost technology first. So you start digitally first, and you only go afterwards, after testing multiple times in your digital prototypes, you go and build the first prototype live. And the same has been happening in other industries. Banking, for instance, a typical bank today is a technology organization. So the same wave of I would say transformations is happening in all industries. And so it's a logical step in the sense that it's the same dynamics, it's the same mechanics that actually that we are following and also implementing. So the construction firm sector is nothing different than the other ones. Yeah.
And would you say, because you can of course, go between these different industries and these different sectors. Would you say that the construction industry today is behind if you look at other industries?
Well, it depends on what you're looking at, of course. But as I said, we have the same challenges. When we have a global supply chain challenge, it's hitting all of the sectors and all of the industries. If you want to compare the different sectors, then the key is going to be how ready is a sector to answer challenges like COVID, like the supply chain challenge that we have globally now due to Ukraine. It's all about that. The readiness is really about how are you looking ahead, because some of these trends you can without a problem predict, but like COVID, no one predicted that it was going to come when it came. So from that angle, it's I would say the maturity is really about the resilience. How ready are you? Are you looking ahead? What are the topics that are coming onto you, and how you're reacting on it? Talent is another example. All of the sectors are facing talent challenges. The question is not, so the maturity for me for a sector is how much are they surprised by a challenge, and how much have they been already looking ahead and preparing themselves. And the last example is Web3 metaverse. Everybody is talking about it now. In a year from now, or a year ago, not many people were talking about it, but those companies and those sectors who were already thinking ahead, saying, is this a signal or not? And those who asked us, for instance, a year ago, we said, you definitely need to look into it. Those organizations, for instance, they have been experimenting. And that's then the difference you have. So the maturity is really also about what capability did you build in your organization or in your sector in order to be resilient when sudden things happen.
Mm-hmm. And in your experience, is the construction industry a sector that is looking forward, like preparing, looking at the challenges that are happening? Or because, as you mentioned, a lot of change has happened in the last 2 years. First we had the pandemic, now we have this conflict in Europe, and there's a lot of change in a short amount of time. But do you see that the construction industry is handling this well? Were they prepared or not?
Well, like a lot of sectors, they did have their challenges, and you cannot answer with yes, they did, or no, they did not, because there is so much variations. It has also to do with how the construction, let's say, sector or industry is built. But having said that, if you look today to the current, let's say, my view on what I'm seeing, because I don't know the sector and everybody in the sector.
No, of course
but
not.
the BBRI, where I refer to it, the Belgian Building Research Community, if I see what they are doing, in November they're going to publish a very interesting study, which is really looking, it's actually doing this. What is the trend analysis? What is coming to our sector? Where are the different challenges? And this is really, for me, an example of a very mature behavior of a sector that is investing in looking ahead on a regular basis and sharing this information within their community. And this, to me, is a good example. It's comforting and also a hopeful one. But you can produce as much research. The key question is going to be, what is going to be the uptake? I can produce a lot of books, but if no one reads them, it does not work. Same thing here. So the sector definitely, I find it one of the strongholders in our country. You know that one of the best economic indicators is what is the construction sector doing. So anyhow, from that, we have a long and a good tradition of people really working hard for the sector and defending their benefit, their interests. These kind of research have been done in the past many times. Where I definitely see a very important uptake is, let's really take these steps. Do with these. There is too much fragmentation in our sector, where I see that the gap between the bigger and the smaller ones is getting bigger and bigger. So the medium organizations, they are fading away, much different than I would say in the different countries surrounding us. With that, it means that the dynamics will change as well. So with that in mind, for a smaller organization, it's not that easy to take recommendations from a study like I referred to and start doing something with it. While for the bigger organizations, it's much easier. So from that angle, I would say that's definitely something to look out for. My advice is definitely there that the sector starts looking, I would say, on how can we work more as one sector. You can create a bigger competition within the borders of our country, but there is perhaps a bigger competition coming on from abroad. And one definite nice uptake, and it's, I would say, one of the advices that we are giving in that study is you need to look ahead. There are a few big challenges coming on, and the ecosystem thinking and the co-creation thinking is one of them. And I think if the construction industry, they would definitely benefit to think more as one ecosystem. When there is a challenge like the supply chain challenge or a pandemic, you can work together as an entire industry and see how can we benefit all together by working together as one ecosystem to reduce the impact that is having on our entire country. So this is definitely, I would say, something to think about.
Mm-hmm. Are there examples from other industries that do this very well, like thinking more as a like cross sector, across the entire sector, and work together to solve the challenges that they're all facing? Are there like best in case or best in class examples?
Yeah, and I think we all face that. Look at the pandemic hit us, and all of a sudden you couldn't go to restaurants anymore. And one of the first switches that happened is, and you saw the restaurants that are, I would say, resilient and the ones who are not. All of a sudden you had this pop-up option of go and get takeouts. They even were able to very creatively organize drop-offs. Now, the home delivery is a good example where a number of initiatives, whether it's the new unicorn in Ghent, who was able to create a platform where everybody could, I would say, Deliveroo kind of activities, put the request, and all the restaurants and other retailers could use to create home delivery. Mm-hmm. So that is one example where in the retail industry, the entire industry reacted by saying, this is a good initiative, let's all start using it. Imagine that the reaction of the different brands would be, hey, I want to do last mile delivery. Now, I want my app or my platform to be the one that all the customers come. If all the retailers would have reacted like that, we would have been nowhere. Because they reacted as they did, Belgium is now a startup. These are really cool guys from Ghent who have created this startup, and they are now unicorn and expanding globally.
How are they called?
It is Deliverect.
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 All right, cool.
Their name is Deliverect.
Deliverect. All right, great. No, but it is true. It's something like yesterday we had the kickoff for the Recap Accelerator event, which is an accelerator organized by PropTech Lab and Revive, and they're gathering startups to make cities more resilient for the coming challenges. Yeah. And that's also the thing that you said. It really resonated, because something that they also mentioned is that a lot of the players in the market today, when they see a good idea, they have the tendency to
copy it.
Yes, but we can do that ourselves. Yeah. And that's very construction industry specific, apparently.
Well, not necessarily, but yeah, indeed. And I take another example, talent example. One of the because if I look at the construction sector, or we say the building sector, right? Because if you translate it from Dutch, it becomes different. But okay.
Right.
So in the sector, so if you look at the challenges, there are a few megatrends that we are looking, and how are we going to react to it? Talent is one of them. A lot of people talk about the war on talent. I prefer to use the word love for talent. It makes you think already much different about the people you would like to attract. So it's not by fighting the other that you win people to come and work for you. It's by really having a genuine interest in the person you want to attract. That mindset is a key one. Now, if I see, there are a few industries, and the chemical industry is a good example. They decided at a certain moment that there is no use to fight each other for the chemical engineers. Why don't we find a way to have certain mobility? And even some very creative solutions came where people could work in the high season in one company, and as a group they moved even to another one when it was low season for that company and high season for the other. So why don't we all look at different ways? Because what does a person want? They don't want monotonous work. They don't want dangerous work. They don't want an environment that is toxic with colleagues, etc., etc. And if you give the nice parts of a job and you combine that, and for instance, creativity or regular, so non-monotonous activities, giving some exciting and regulatory and regularly different, I would say, differences in jobs, a variation. That was the word that I was looking for. So if you give, they want variation. So if you can't create variation within the boundaries of your own organization, why don't you combine it? And in the summer they work for one company, around the winter is for another. Their workload is not peaking because you only have to recruit a less number of people because of you always recruit for the peak, and now you can manage it much better. And these kind of, imagine that this sector would be start thinking like that as well. How can we be more collaborative? And for instance, you can do that by doing it more user-centric. Start from the individual, in this case, the one you want to recruit. And the same goes when you look at how the industry is actually answering to the hyper personalization, the customer centricity, as we talk in different industries. What is centricity here? It's not only about choosing the color of your kitchen, but it's also looking at what kind of functionality does someone want. And instead of competing in an, I would say, irrealistic or irrational way, why not looking for this creative talent and start combining them, I would say, to even avoid cheaper solutions coming from other countries from abroad. Why don't we use the strength that we have? Another example there is we have an amazing creative group of students and high schools around the west of Flanders. They are participating in gaming for top brands globally. I don't see them much, let's say, adopted in our industry, while the gaming industry today is creating. They have tools that you can use immediately on imagining how that house or building would look like, how the interior will look like. Instead of creating mock-ups physically, you put your VR glasses and you go in a virtual reality where you project it, or even augment the current reality with some filters that you see how a house or an interior or whatever construction can look like. So there are definitely options out there. And I can say that in some circumstances, I see that competition from outside the borders of Belgium, they're already using them very intensively.
So are they really like neighboring countries like the Netherlands or France or Germany who are really implementing these digital technologies more in the construction process than Belgium?
Yeah, we see that. And a very nice example that we have used is look at in Dubai, we have the Museum of the Future, which is a moon-shaped building. The way that it's created, the BIM data that was already available, it's amazing. The way that they have been, let's say, digitally creating the twin first and starting from that digital twin and refining the concept more and more until you really end up with the mock-up that you say, this is what I want, and then go into. Well, I'm not going to make publicity, but have a look who was involved in there. And then you'll see it. We Belgians, we have done and are still doing amazing stuff around the world. It would be good that we do that here more as well in our own country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I fully agree. So this report you were speaking of, that's getting released in November, and that's looking at some of the bigger trends we see happening in the industry today.
Correct.
And I hear you mentioned working more across the sector on an HR level, for example, and using these digital technologies. But are there any other really big trends that are coming up that you see like this is really something we should focus on from an industry perspective?
Yeah, I think I would say there are a number of. Let me explain a little bit about how we typically go ahead. If we, for any question on looking ahead, we can analyze a number of mega trends, and Pestel is an interesting example. And a Pestel analysis really looks at a number of different domains like politics, economical, social development, and try to understand from all of these, I would say, dimensions on what is coming ahead. And there, and I can indeed refer to a few of them, what is definitely, I would say, going to be impacting the sector. Let me give you a few of them. The customer centricity, the talent one I already explained. The war or the love for talent is definitely something we should look into, and not only on how can I attract more and better in my own company, but really let's look more as a sector. I think that would definitely an interesting one to look at. The customer centricity and really going beyond what customers as an individual wants is definitely another one you want to look at. The gap between the bigger and the smaller players, I already referred to that. And perhaps, the ecosystem thinking and the co-creation economy is definitely something that the sector can benefit from, because this is one of those challenges that we see that it's definitely not happening enough. The ecosystem thinking is, you see that I would say in the blurring of the industries is now making that we see that a lot of new players, startups, are coming ahead. They are already vested. Organizations understand that they don't have all the talent, all the data, all the insights and the capabilities to deliver what customers typically want. Now, in the ecosystem economy, you turn that around and you look at an open approach, and you build an open ecosystem around you, because you know that the competition is going to be not with one company competing to another one, but it's a company and their ecosystem is competing to another company and their ecosystem. And this ecosystem thinking is an important one. If we start thinking a bit more like that, then you'll see that, I would say, a digging company and the ecosystem that is around them, delivering what a customer wants, can bring total different value than another one. Instead of buying a heater at home, you can say, I want to buy 21 degrees. Or even further, I want to buy comfortable temperature in my house. Now, if you can give that, for a customer, it doesn't matter what it is, what you use. Is it solar panel? Is it an old or a new instrument that you're using? You are giving what the customer wants. So that customer centricity, if you translate that to services, then it becomes a total different play. And then, if I have to choose between an organization that says, hey, I'm going to sell you, a solar-based package of heating for you, come in here, but then I have to go and find someone who can install it. I have to then find someone who can do services on it afterwards. And then I have to compare that supplier with another supplier on how much production of solar the one is doing and what is the electricity consumption of the other, and how easy is the panel of the one and the other. Actually, let's go away from there. Let's really listen what the customers want and give them a total package, give them services. And if you do that, then the competition is going to be looking totally different. Then it's going to be about an organization with a total different ecosystem around them. They say, and they go to the customer and they say, you want comfortable temperature? I give you that. In the winter, in the summer, here you have to turn around left, right, and you have it. And you see how much you consume and how much you produce, and if it's totally sustainable what you're doing. So you can play around with a lot of dynamics in there. But if you don't do that, then it's all about trying to win with cheap prices, with lousy services, with lousy material, because you know that the price is at the end the last thing and the easiest way to compete, which is pity.
Yeah, it sounds like a really clear and interesting approach. But on the ecosystem definition, for you, does it include like also the supply chain of a business?
Evidently, of course.
Right. So it's no. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Because at the end, you're going to be promising, I'll give you that service. By when? By then. So it means you need to look at the end-to-end. It's from the production to the delivery, and the after-sale service is going to be all in there. So again, it's not a dramatic change. It's just a different thinking.
Different mindset.
A different mindset of let's work more together to serve these customers better. It's I think, less ambitious than the current way. I found it very ambitious that entrepreneurs today are competing in the way that they are doing by trying to find something cheap enough, do some uplift and sell it over, and do that again and again. And the one is focusing more on quality and asking a bit more money. I find that more challenging because that's a lot of effort. If you put more effort in really creating an ecosystem approach, it's more stable. Because sometimes you will have one of your ecosystem players that are not working or they're not fitting you, but it's okay. Then you just change one.
But if you switch that mindset as an organization, the self-developed mic stand
yes.
is
I touched it wrongly.
Yeah, is going through some trials.
Yeah.
But if you switch that mindset, that means that as an organization, as a management, you will also need to invest resources in the relationship with the network, with the partners, with the suppliers. Like now, I think classically it's more like we buy stuff from you and you deliver it, and if you deliver it on time and it's well quality, it's okay. But if you switch that mindset, you will need to maybe get them in the conversation, attract them more into the design, like really strengthen the bond with everyone around the business itself. But it's quite as you say, it's a different way of looking at the activity.
And the thing is, I would say the group of companies who decide genuinely we really want to bring good quality, good services. Yes, it will take some time at the beginning to create that effort, but it's a much nicer life because once you have developed your ecosystem, and of course it's a continuous thing, it's not something static, but you know that with that group you can really deliver what you promise. Today, everybody who's dealing with our industry is having all of those complaints about when you call the electrician, he never comes, or there is always something else that they're doing and it takes longer, and etc., etc., etc. So I definitely would think that it would definitely benefit the industry on its reputation.
Mm-hmm. I think for bigger organizations, then it's going to be maybe a question of, are we going to invest time and money in the relationship, or are we going to do more maybe M&A type of activities to vertically integrate into our activities when we deem them important enough? But it's going to be a mix of both, probably.
Yeah, and like a lot of other industries, you see that there is a lot of benefit to make choices on where you really want to focus on and stick to that. And indeed, all of the other stuff is going to be with partnerships. But on the other hand, you also have to keep an eye open on what is happening, what are the startups doing. And if you think that you all know it well and you can still do it and there will be no Uber that comes and kills your taxi business, it is happening every day. And look at the architects. I remember the first time I did a renovation with an architect, the amount of effort they put, and as such I had to pay to detail out the existing as is situation, because it was an old classical house. It was almost absurd how much detail and effort it put, and it gave me zero value. It was important for the architect to start from there, but it gave me as a customer zero value. Yes, I can now look at the drawings and see what kind of curls and motifs there were in the facade, but it didn't give me any, because I can go outside and I can look at it. Today, you have so many digital solutions. You just put it in there, it scans, and you even can define what is the level of detail of the pixels you want, to have every line detailed out digitally. You can, and you know where this is happening? Not in Belgium. These are services delivered in low-cost countries. So today, there are quite a number of service providers. You just have to send a number of pictures, and they design it out in the software that we all in the industries are using. And you can define what is the pixel level that I want. Do I want to see one line, which is, let's say, the door or the window? Or if I more pixel level, so I can see the different lines that are in there, and I can really see the curves, and you just pay more. It's as a service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. Is in the report for that we mentioned, is everything around, you mentioned it a couple of minutes ago, everything around the metaverse and the digital environment and how the real estate market is reacted to that. Is that also a trend you see that's taken up in the report, or is that a separate thing for you?
No, I think it's definitely, and I think the digitization is a very key one. And in the past, let's say post-pandemic, we saw the resilience of the sectors we already talked about, but the resilience of the individual company is directly linked to how ready were you, because all of a sudden we had to work digitally, so that digital environment became one of the key dimensions to evaluate how ready are you. Those organizations who were not able to have their personnel working remotely all of a sudden had to invest huge amount of money to at least organize some sort of a workable situation. We saw a lot of them, while others, they were already working even internationally, and it was an easy thing to do. So it goes really far, going from security, going from remote working, but also the mindset, that culture shift of you're not bound to that one desk. So creativity comes also with multidisciplinarity, and there as well, organizations who have been really making that switch, because digitalization is also about more efficient, more faster, more client-friendly, more customer-centric and oriented. And if you were not ready to do that, you really struggled a lot. And to me, one advice that I've been giving for a while now, and I see luckily a number of companies in the sector picking that up, and that is really go and visit to our gaming industry back in the West Flanders around Kortrijk. We really have some amazing stuff over there. At the end of the year, go and look at what these young students are developing. Yeah, the entire metaverse is nothing else than a window that is linking the physical and the virtual world with each other. We have some wizards built over there. They're really amazing. I mean, I don't know if any one of you or the listeners, they play games, but the gaming industry has been doing that for a long time. And a lot of people who have not, or have been looking a bit down towards the gaming industry, they don't understand that people pay actual money for a skin, for a tool, and for that, for a Gucci bag that costs the same price as a physical one. They will not understand that. Until you experience that, you don't understand how amazing it is. There is for anyone, I would definitely advise the Plank is a really simple app you can download. And the Plank is, you can use it with a VR goggle. You step into an elevator, and you need to do it with two, that someone guides you, and you put a piece of wood in front of you, and you need to walk over that plank as if you're on one of the top world skyscrapers, and looking down, like in Manhattan, where all the cars are little ants, and you walk on top of it. That experience is real. And this is the new reality. So for our industry, this gives a lot of tremendous opportunities. We are already creating everything digitally. There is already material that we can put in BIMs. Translating that, let some creative young woman and man work on it, and let's create these kind of, I would say, platforms and tools that we can use then to give a better experience to our customers. Not only, it's an easy one. Imagine how your house would look like. You want a flat roof, or you want more windows, less windows, this color of carpet or whatever. This is already easy. But imagine you take it further, and you need to look at it beyond the big, ugly and heavy goggles, but look at it, your own glass has AR on it. Or even, there is, Moyo is a really interesting experiment there, or a prototype that they're building. It's a lens you put on your eyes, and it does exactly the same. So you have a really mix, and it's a mixed reality concept then. You see, I can talk to you, I can see you, but meanwhile I can look up everything, and you don't have to have an entire dictionary or laptop Googling everything. You can all start using it. Mm-hmm. That mixed reality environment is going to be the reality anyhow. So coming back to what I said at the beginning, it's typically also how our team looks at innovation. Is we are here to look with the clients, what is going to come on your agenda. And if you know that something like that is going to come, and the metaverse is one of them, what are you waiting for? Start experimenting today. And start small. You don't have to do big investments. It does not need that. but start experimenting now. So you already know what it is. You can feel it. You can see, does it make sense for my business? But also, does my business still make sense later? It allows you to do that.
Mm-hmm. I heard a very cool theory a couple of weeks ago about the AR, VR technology that's coming up. And today, as you know, all these VR headsets, they are quite big and heavy, and they're not very user-friendly. Mm-hmm. But Apple apparently has been working on one for many years now. And I find it very interesting how they can plan their product roadmap. Like, I think that at this point, they must be planning it almost a decade ahead, because they have these cool examples of iPhones getting launched, or the AirPods getting launched, the wireless AirPods, and 3 iPhone generations before, the chip was already in there so that it was working. But now with that VR headset that's coming up, Apple already made like a lot of the tools available. Like the AirPods are there, so their headset won't need the bulky headphones, and the processing power will come from their iPhone, and it will not need to be in their VR AR application. So when you think about that, they will probably launch something, I don't know, they were saying in a year or 18 months, that's going to look so much more minimal and so much more easily in use, that I think, just thinking about it, as you just explained, like the applications are gonna explode, I think.
And that's an easy one, because we already know how it looks like the glasses and the mixed reality environment. We already see that. So let's go beyond that. So that's, I would say, it's already a given. And if organizations decide they don't want to start testing now, which is fine, then their competition is for sure doing it already. And then, the normal, the dynamics of demand and supply will play. But let's really look, and that's the key message that I want to bring is, as organization in our sector, we really need to look ahead. What are those signals? What are those trends that are impacting us? And one example is, again, on the talent is, don't think that you're going to find all solutions to attract all those talent. We see that talent today is exiting the traditional work environment. It's a huge outlift going on. So people leave corporate life. They are not interested to come and work in your administration from 9 to 5, or even if you give them flexible time. So that exit that is already happening significantly. So we need to rethink how work is going to be organized, because the reality is, and I gave that example as architect. Today, architects are finding difficult to find architects to come and work in their offices.
How do you at KPMG? You have almost 2,000 people in Belgium. What steps are you guys taking to cope with the things that you just mentioned?
And we have the same challenges like other industries. So for us, experimentation is the answer, which is really start experimenting now. We gave our people, for instance, 20 days a year. They can work from anywhere. Mm-hmm. So if they want to have they want to go to the Ardennes if they have a second place, or they want to go to the Bahamas and work from there, that's okay. It just requires us as employer to think differently, more outcome-based. I really don't mind where they are. When I said this for the first time, I remember I had first an assistant working for me in my early career, and I said to her, look, she had some problems with her father he was ill. I said, you know what, you can stay home and work from home. She worked for an entire month from home. I didn't see any difference. I was traveling anyhow. My colleagues were asking, are you crazy? Why are you doing that? How can you know that she's doing her work? I said, how do you see? Yeah, but she's sitting in front of me. Yeah, with the window of her screen towards you. You really are looking 5 minutes every minute? No. Look at the outcome. Respect people, believe in them, and let them do the work. So from a talent perspective, that challenge, for us, it's also experimenting. We started with 20 days. Perhaps that works. We have a number of initiatives for mothers and fathers who want to have flexible hours on the school holidays. And so we're looking at different ways. We don't have a fixed amount of days they need to be at the office. And we leave it up to the clients. They're working with the teams, etc. It's with also with goggles to see how the new working is going to look like. So we're trying to experiment and encourage as much as possible, and we're not succeeding with everybody. We also lose people, unfortunately. But again, here the question is: do you look at it as one company and every company is doing the same exercise, or are we going to really step up as a sector and look at these kind of challenges together? Because when someone leaves the construction industry and goes to a startup doing totally different, that means that we are, as an entire sector, we lost. If no one wants to do the as-is drawings in an architect, then it means that, and that's becoming a trend, it means all of us are going to have that problem. So why don't we look more together to these kind of challenges, not from a competition perspective internally, but we are being competed by organization external from abroad. And you can solve these kind of challenges like that. And to me, and it's from that angle that I'm saying that. And let me give another example, again, beyond the metaverse, is drones today. We have today, 2 days ago, the self-flying cars have been launched. There's a number of demos. Dubai was, again, one of the first to showcase that. Now, the regulation is at level X, but the technology is much higher. We're already ready. There is technology that you can have, like an Uber, you can order a self-flying taxi, landing in your backyard, you step in, and it takes you wherever you want, autonomously, without a pilot in it. That technology is already there, but the regulator is not there. And the regulator is typically not helping us out here in different countries. We just launched with KPMG the air taxi readiness per country. And we looked at a number of variables to see how ready is every country and where do you see the differences. And it's really unfortunate because as Belgium, from an innovation technology perspective, we were one of the front runners of Europe. We were at the front end. We really have amazing startups, collaborations, ecosystem plays, Proximus, together with Sky Drones and a number of other players. We are really ahead.
I think one of them is here on the side for the drone legislation. Yeah. I think they are here next to the airport.
But that's a bit the problem, and when it comes to a number of other topics, like indeed the regulation, then we are lagging behind. And compared to last year, we lost our ranking due to that. The other countries like Norway, UK, France, they have been investing heavily. Holland, they have been investing heavily to make sure that the regulator is ready there. And you can say, yeah, but what does it do with our everyday life? But a lot, if you know that the technology can carry hundreds of kilos. We have today quite a number of people that I know in the construction business who are flying with a helicopter. That's not sustainable. We have today electric drones that can do perfectly all the work. And while flying, you can do all sorts of recordings of GIS data and all of that. So from a sustainability perspective, instead of sending a package all the way onto a mountain or even the little hills in the Ardennes, which takes a car typically too much time, you can send a nice delivery like that. So the technology is out there. And that's a bit, again, my message is also for the industry. Let's really look ahead. Are you looking enough ahead what is going to come? What can help you? But also be aware, because if you're not looking, someone else is.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a very clear and a very clear message, and I hope it's going to give the listeners a call to action to find out more about the different topics that you mentioned. I honestly, I didn't know that flying taxis are already so close to being a thing. I had no idea legislation was being made for it.
We are already delivering people from shore to a board platform. I don't know what the English...
Drilling platform.
It's a platform in sea.
Really?
It's already happening. Autonomously.
Wow. Yeah, I saw these examples and I knew that like one of the guys from Google invested in one of them, like I think Larry Page, but that it's happening already? I had no idea.
We have now Belgian technology, for instance, all over the world.
Okay.
Belgian technology created here with public money from Flanders, invested in it, where drones, as a package, you can send them it as a service. And they can do inspections on oil refineries around the world. It's already happening, these kind of things. And it's an amazing innovation. Technology is really amazing. And especially if you turn it around and look at things that really matter, like sustainability, and have impact, both social, environmental. That's the moment we can really do some amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the time. I want to respect your time. I think we're approaching an hour, and we kind of have the habit to maybe ask a little bit more like personal questions to finish on a lighting note. And we have a couple here. And maybe the first one, I would ask if you could have a drink with anybody, dead or alive, who would it be?
Well, I would really think of Bill Gates. He's that gentleman has been amazing me for a long time. Not only for the revolutionary impact he had with technology and innovation, but then a new life he started on impact with his foundation that he had with his ex-wife. It's an amazing, it's an amazing personality. Yeah, give me some time with him and I'll happily drink a coffee.
There's a great, I don't know if you've seen it, there's a great documentary about him on Netflix, Inside Bill Gates' Brain.
I saw it already.
Yeah, I find it's really fascinating stuff. Like he's funding new nuclear developments. Yes. And
a good friend of mine actually, he's working with him on his foundation in the US. They moved out with the family a few years ago. Yeah, it's and it's I must say, hats off, respect for someone that still spends a lot of time of his day in, day out. I was one of the first actually also early on to predict that the way that we're living, pandemics are going to be something that is going to be inevitable. So yeah, it's that would be my answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read this book last year about climate change. Some of the mental models that he I don't know if he came up with them, but like the idea of the green premium, I find that very interesting, very interesting models to look at the challenges that we're facing. So yeah, as you say, he's just very, very bright cookie.
Definitely.
Maybe one more. Is there a book that you recently read that you would like to advise to our listeners? Can be about the topics that we discussed today or anything else.
Well, actually, I would then advise a friend of mine, Suyin Arts. She wrote a book about Time for the Creative Generalist. I think it's the name. It's a Dutch book. I understood it was going to be translated. That for the Creatieve Generalist. I think it's a must-read for a lot of people. If you want to build teams and you need creative people, you need these kind of generalists that really keep the vibe, the buzz, the dynamic in there, and they come up with amazing ideas that you would never thought of. They can link things with each other that is not normal. It was an eye-opener. I definitely would advise that, yes.
And that's already published?
Yes, definitely.
All right.
Lano.
Awesome. All right, then I think we are approaching an end. Unless there is anything else you still wanted to convene to our audience.
Well, no. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. My key message always is: please, let's all look ahead. And working together is always better than walking alone. And start experimenting now. Don't be afraid.
All right, great. Is there one place that the people who are listening could follow you, get in touch with you?
I think LinkedIn is the best way. Yes,
all right,
definitely.
Perfect. All right, Özturk, thank you very much. And I wish you best of luck in the coming months and weeks.
Pleasure was mine, and good luck with your podcast.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Bao Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to our channel. If you're interested in Bao Living in our Smart Adaptable Module or SAM, go check out our website baoliving.com. If you want to stay up to date, you can best subscribe to our monthly newsletter on our website or follow us on all social media platforms where we're named @BaoLiving.